Welcome to Sikhcast, brought to you by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.
This episode of the Sikhcast is from a live conference titled Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, the Benevolent Warrior, that originally took place on Saturday, March 27th, 2021. How could one create such dialogue around human rights, justice, and freedom while maintaining a solid stance for remaining close to such truth? Join Professor Ishmeet Kaur as she explores the events that led to Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's martyrdom, significance, and impact.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I am Ishmeet Kaur Chaudhary and I am going to speak about Shrist ki Chadar, Guru Teghbahadar, significance of his ideology and martyrdom in the contemporary Indian perspective. To understand the significance of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's ideology and martyrdom, we need to understand that there was a broader cause in creating a new set of discourse pertaining to human rights, justice and freedom. Exemplary through Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's own life and martyrdom. There is a broader universal significance and concern for larger humanity than his contribution to a limited or a particular religion or community. His martyrdom needs to be studied on two aspects. One, the broader and overall significance of standing for truth and raising the voice for the welfare of others beyond the limited self of the individuated self. And second, by studying the particularity of laying his life for the protection of the Hindu community that was facing forced conversions, killings, and atrocities at the hands of the Mughals. Therefore, the focal point is to study the broader significance of the reason for martyrdom in the particularity of fighting for the case of the Hindus against the Mughals. One thing that needs to be clearly understood is that this was not a fight of one community against the other, but it was a battle of right against wrong, truth against falsehood, and righteousness against discontent. Therefore, hypothetically, if the situation was vice versa, the Guru would have chosen to stand by the truth, irrespective of the community. The Mughal rulers had significantly less regard for human rights and the principle of justice. They chose to measure everything around them with the yardstick of their own belief and sought to force their religiosity upon innocent citizens irrespective of their religion, culture, and faith. Moreover, their tyranny was increasing day by day. There was instability in the agrarian situation. The poor farmers and the cultivators were constantly being exploited. The Jagirdars, who were the serfs, being transferred from one place to another, were prone to corrupt practices and constantly exploited the helpless and poor farmers. The Zamindars, who were the landlords, also gave in to the pressures of the Jagirdars. The defaulters were subjected to the Muslim criminal code of law in such matters. In contrast, the Hindu code of law applied to the Hindus and the Muslim code of law to Muslims separately on social issues. With time, the situation intensified and the economic oppression increased immensely. This problem was not a problem of the Hindus alone, as the ordinary Muslims were also in trouble. This is evident from the fact that a prominent Muslim fakir, Adam Hafiz, had also joined Guru Teghbahadar Sahib in the Sikh movement that stood against all forms of tyranny. For Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, spirituality was supreme and his belief was free of any ideological bearings of the religions prevailing then. Therefore, he laid an assertion on truth, the path led by Guru Nanak Sahib and the other 7 Gurus before him. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, in 4 of his sloks, those were the couplets, gives a new dimension and a new shape to the Sikh philosophical thought. In a way, it would not be wrong to say that these sloks are an indication or even the foundational ideas of the Sikh collective community, the Panth in the making. A new community that would stand out with a distinct identity was to be defined by Guru Gobind Singh in 1699. The Panth would focus on the principle of justice and stand for the truth at all times whenever the forces of faith, hate, fanaticism, and tyranny would be prevalent anywhere in the world. Dr. Devinder Pal Singh aptly suggests the relevance of the sacrifice of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib in contemporary times as the great sacrifice made by Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji to vindicate the right of the people to profess and practice the faith meant, in fact, the assertion of the principle of justice for which the ruling Mughal rulers of the day had very scant regard. For this reason, the life, career, and teachings of Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib are of immense significance, even in contemporary times when the forces of hate, fanaticism, and tyranny are still very dominant and assertive. The essence of this is visible in the four sloks, Slok Mahalla Nawa, and the four sloks out of them are Slok 16, 51, 53, and 54, revered by the ninth Guru. Dr. Taran Singh suggests that these four sloks could be, I quote, revered only at a particular historical moment after years of experience at a time when they were most relevant. By the time when all other efforts had failed was when these sloks were uttered. The right time for these sloks to be revealed had arrived. These sloks would change the Indian history. These sloks gave birth to Khalsa Panth. They gave birth to the declaration Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. They are immersed in the foundation of Sikhi, and the time came when Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib revealed them. Unquote. These sloks stand out in the poetic tradition of those times. They carve the principles of Sikhi Siddhant, the Sikh principles, and describe the fundamental aspects on which the Khalsa Panth was to be established soon. These principles are practically possible for those human beings who stand by truth, no matter what community or religion they may belong to. Based on Guru Nanak Sahib's assertion on truth, these sloks offer a truth-oriented action approach where wisdom and action serve together. The truth and the Kyunkar are inseparable. Truth is the consciousness, that is Chetna, and consciousness is the first parameter for realizing that truth leads to an understanding of what is absolute and just. Wisdom and the endower of wisdom, that is the enlightened one, are described in slok. The one who does not give threats to anyone, nor accepts threats from others. Nanak states, listen, O mind, call that alone as wise. This was slok number 16. While Guru Sahib focuses on detachment from worldly pleasures, the importance of remembrance and freedom has been emphasized in this slok. Guru Sahib focuses on the principle of absolute freedom, freedom from the fear of everything at all. This freedom leads the seeker towards the attainment of self-power in the true spiritual self. Once the endower of wisdom attains this consciousness, there is liberation from fear or threat. Such a person neither threatens anyone nor is threatened by anyone. This is a declaration of the true sentiment that a Sikh is to follow. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib is defining the parameters on which a Sikh is to be shaped. A Sikh should be the endower of wisdom who seeks and stands for the everlasting truth against all oppressions and is never fearful of anyone. A Sikh stands for righteousness and truth. Such an insightful person is never a threat to anyone, never believes in threatening anyone at all. Neither does a Sikh live in fear of anyone, nor does a Sikh accept threat. Next is Slok 51 for this study. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib prepares for the future that would soon disclose the said time's atrocities. It is then that a great sacrifice, ordaining the prediction indicated through the name given by his father, Guru Hargobind Sahib, who had called his son Tyagmal, was to happen. Tyag meaning renunciation. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib is known as Mahatyagi or Mahabalidani, meaning the one who offers the greatest sacrifice or the one who is the greatest martyr. Through this slok, it is clear that this martyrdom was preordained as per the command of Ikyunkar. The Guru through this slok sends a message of resilience and faith in Ikyunkar and how every Sikh is expected to live a life by accepting the will of Ikyunkar. Therefore, not to unnecessarily worry about things not in control of human beings. This martyrdom in history has been the greatest of all, one of its kind. It was not coincidental, but determined by the will of Ikyunkar. Therefore, an example of selflessness had to be set to establish a strong community based on the saint soldier, Sant Sipahi ideology. A Sant Sipahi would imbibe a rare combination of the Guru-oriented wisdom and unmatchable bravery of a warrior. The slok reads, "Worry not for that what is unexpected." Nanak states, "This is the way of the world. No one is permanent here." The Guru gives a message to the followers that since no one is permanent, one should not worry about death as it is inevitable. Perhaps it would not be wrong to consider that the Guru indicated that the Sikhs were to serve others while living and finally lay their life for a larger human cause. Through this slok, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib offers a sense of liberation from anxiety, worry, and fear of death. The following two sloks, number 53 and 54, for the study in the present paper, need to be read together as a pair. There are different opinions of scholars regarding the revelation of slok 53. Some suggest that it was a message sent to the child Gobind Rai by his father, Guru Teghbahadar Sahib, who sought an answer to check the spiritual preparedness of his son for the future. Bhai Santok Singh and other traditional scholars feel that the slok number 54 following slok number 53 was an answer from Gobind Rai. However, in the Guru Granth Sahib, both the sloks are attributed to Guru Teghbahadar Sahib. Interestingly, slok 53 is considered epistolatory, a letter or a message, while slok 54 is explanatory. The significance of both the sloks is that they portray the powerful vis-a-vis the powerless, leading towards a process for liberation of oneself from the clutches of the powerful. In Slok 53, the Guru asks, I quote, strength is lost, bondages have gripped. Nothing is happening by making effort. Nanak states, now it is only your sport. Render help to me like you helped the elephant. Guru Teghbahadar Sahib reveals that when spiritual strength is lost, bondages of material attachment overpower human beings. One cannot rid oneself of these allurements even if one makes several efforts. Guru Sahib further explains that in such a situation, one should seek the support of Ikyunkar, as Ikyunkar renders support to those seeking Ikyunkar's shelter in the same way as Ikyunkar protected the elephant from the clutches of an octopus or a crocodile in one of the folkloric stories. 4 keywords have been used in these sloks: Bal, meaning strength, Par, Bandhan, meaning bondage, Upay, meaning effort, and Ot, meaning sanctuary or support. In Slok 53, finally, there is a supplication to Ikyunkar, an ardas or a prayer taking shelter in Ikyunkar. In Slok 54, these keywords emerge as faith, Bal, strength and power, and Bandhan, bondage, have a causal relationship. When spiritual strength is lost, bondages overpower. But bondages are removed when spiritual strength is gained. Thus, efforts fructify, and Ikyunkar is the ultimate support of everyone. I quote Slok 54. Spiritual strength has been attained, bondages have been removed. Everything happens by making effort. Nanak states, everything is in your hand, you alone come to help. These 4 sloks lay the foundation of a new beginning with Khalsa Panth. The overall message of these 4 sloks is that the Sikhs are required to follow the Guru-oriented wisdom and lead a righteous life while rendering selfless service to those in need for the sake of truth. Death also becomes meaningful when laid for the sake of truth and the welfare of others if need be. In doing so, spiritual strength is attained that liberates one from all bondages and all kinds of weaknesses as Ikyunkar aids individual efforts. These are to be considered new principles of the revolution that became instrumental in making a new world order that would further profess to fight for truth, righteousness, and justice for all. We need to ponder on the all-inclusive approach that the Guru envisioned and stood against tyranny, violence, and exploitation of the helpless. In doing so, the Guru suggests that individuals have the freedom to practice their faith as they choose to, with dignity, without any force or pressure by dominating powerful agencies. It is evident that Guru Teghbahadar not just initiates a discourse of human rights, individual freedom, and justice, but presents an action-oriented revolution by serving an example from his own life through his martyrdom. Later, in the Western political discourse, notions of human rights become central. In the present, it is believed that these concerns evolved with the Western thought, but Dr. Keher Singh, in his essay, Understanding the Sacrifice of Guru Teghbahadar, contends that even before the popularity of the notions of liberty, equality, and fraternity that originated in the political discourse with popular movements in the Western discourse, primarily with John Locke in the 17th century and in the late 18th century with Rousseau, the gurus had not just been promoting these ideas, but practicing them in their life already in the 15th and the 16th centuries. They posed a challenge to the oppressive rulers who did not believe in the concept of human rights and dignity for all. The gurus stood against those rulers who remained indifferent to the exploitation and oppression of the common people and to those who felt despondent and helpless. I quote Dr. Keher Singh, the Gurus offered a ray of hope and a positive course of action for personal and social liberation. Their approach was a matter of fact and setting an example of righteous behavior by their own conduct. This was for bringing about psychic, cultural, and social transformation as a necessary condition for a dignified life for all. Viewed in this context, the sacrifice of the ninth Guru was nothing short of a watershed event. Therefore, it is mandatory to read the martyrdom of Guru Teghbahadar in the light of righteousness and collective human concern. Sikh historian and poet Senapati in 1711 in Sri Guru Sobha described Guru Teghbahadar Sahib as the protector of the entire creation, Shrist. He uses the word Chadar as a metaphor to indicate that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib provided shelter of his protection to everyone equally. I quote, "Then appeared Guru Teghbahadar on the firmament, who sheltered the whole creation with his grace. He upheld the right to religious freedom and deeds, which immortalized his saga in the age of Kali Yuga. His sacrifice came to be praised throughout the world. As he had safeguarded religious freedom all over, his deed came to be hailed in the three worlds. As the divine God had stood by the divine Guru. The right to put tilak, wear janu, and sit in the religious congregation remained in permanent practice with divine Guru's grace. As he departed for heavenly abode in the cause of religion, his successor came to be called Guru Gobind Singh." What is important is that Senapati pointedly remarks that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib upheld the right to religious freedom and deeds. Karam Taram. Secondly, he says that he had safeguarded religious freedom all over. Third, he lays emphasis on the right to put tilak, wear janu, and sit in religious congregation. Here, it is important to notice that Senapati emphasizes on the collective concern for the entire creation, Shrishti, that is an extension of concern even beyond the human race. He includes the fauna, flora, and the complete compass of the cosmos in the purview of Guru's cause. The particular focus on Kashmiri Pandits visiting Guru Teghbahadar Sahib and seeking his shelter indicates his popularity and faith in him. Many other and famous warriors could have offered to protect the Hindus from Mughals, but why did the Kashmiri Brahmins only approach Guru Teghbahadar Sahib? This is a critical question. In Sri Guru Panth Prakash, an answer to this question is available. Historian Ratan Singh Bangu clearly states that Guru Teghbahadar came to be known as the bravest of the brave. as his fame spread far and wide in the whole world. Whosoever felt oppressed, tortured, and aggrieved sought his protection and felt relieved. Human beings all over the world are desirous of comforts alone. They alone seek his grace who come across suffering in life. They received instant relief who sought his protection, and his fame spread all over for his elevation of human suffering. This is how Ratan Singh Bangu describes him. It is important to realize that Guru Teghbahadar Sahib's fame had reached far and wide. He was not just famous in the Indian subcontinent but in the whole world. Therefore, the Brahmins from Kashmir came to seek his protection. Simultaneously, Ratan Singh Bangu does not restrict this discourse to the saga of the conversation and protection of Kashmiri Pandits alone. He explains that in protecting Kashmiri Pandits and the Hindus, the Guru aimed at a wider universal significance. His motive was establishing the cause for truth and protecting human rights in the protection of the Hindus. Ratan Singh Bangu states, I quote, then Guru Tegh Bahadur was the next successor who gave up his life for the protection of others' human rights. He made the supreme sacrifice in the dark age, Kali Yuga, and protected the religious rights and rituals of Hindus. The line, who gave up his life for the protection of others' human rights, is most important here. Once again, along with protecting the Hindus from forced conversion, the larger purpose was to protect human rights itself. Moreover, Bhai Santokh Singh in Shri Guru Pratap Suraj Granth on page 803 also claims that as Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji left the world, he was surrounded by many illuminated beings, by many devtas who welcomed the Guru by singing his praise. Through this appreciation, Bhai Santokh Singh describes the real purpose of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's martyrdom. I quote him as translated, whenever the world departs from its natural course of conduct, it is then that you take a form which is not surprising or a miracle. You are the savior and the endower of righteousness. In case righteousness is destroyed, no one, including us, will remain in the world. First you create, give birth to this creation, and then you look after its well-being. Whoever turns away from the true conduct, you destroy that being. You always become the protector of all. How can one describe the kind of appreciation that the Devtas did in the praise of Guru Sahib? I unquote. In these lines, the focus is on righteousness. Some scholars preferred calling Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Dharam ki Chadar, while many scholars in the 20th century referred to him as Hind ki Chadar. These titles depict his contribution, but these titles remain limited to particular contexts alone and tend to overlook the Guru's motive as universal and all-inclusive. The idea of Hind, the concept of nation that we see today, was not the same in the period of Gurus. Nation conceptually is an 18th century construct in the Western discourse, while the significance of Guru's martyrdom gave a discourse of universalism with emphasis on human rights and dignity for all individuals equally, irrespective of their community, religion, caste, creed, or sex, and freedom to live with liberty in the shared world created by a Kyunkar. Towards the conclusion, it may be mentioned that Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib made the supreme sacrifice by laying his life for the welfare of humankind because he was pained to see the suffering of fellow beings. In this century, when the entire world is facing the oppression of the majority forces, where the haves are indifferent towards the need of the have nots and do not shun from being exploitative towards them, where Islamophobia, marginalization of the lower castes, discrimination based on race, and oppression in the name of gender is on a spread, where other minorities are being threatened, where the Sikh minorities are labeled as terrorists time and again, where laws against interfaith marriages are being passed, where restrictions are being forced upon love, where peasants are struggling for their rights, this martyrdom acquires immediate relevance and meaning. Therefore, the martyrdom of Guru Teghbahadar Sahib is to be understood as a resistance to injustice, a voice against the unwarranted forces oppressing the innocent and common citizens, and not just an opposition to the tyranny of the Mughal forces, but a refusal to accept any form of oppression or unjust agency. With this, I close my paper. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
You were listening to Sikhcast by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.